Notre Dame quarterback commit Deuce Knight lit it up over the weekend at the OT 7-on-7 tournament in Tampa. And Charles Power, On3 National Director of Scouting, was there, and he is everyone's favorite rankings guru. Every fan base absolutely loves Charles Power. And so, Charles, we're going to talk to you about Deuce Knight. So you guys named him the On3 MVP from the weekend. Tell me why. What did you guys see from Deuce Knight?
Yeah, I think by the time the dust settled on Sunday, the third day of the event, it was pretty clear that I think Deuce Knight was certainly the most valuable player in that tournament. Took his team to a kind of surprising run to the championship game. They lost in the championship game in a pretty close game, but he got better and better over the course of the weekend. And I think was kind of far and away the top quarterback over the course of the full 3 days, and made some big time throws. I think just showed kind of the pure talent that we've always known was there. And I think the biggest thing with Deuce is, it might not always manifest in these situations. We've seen him a ton, but it really kind of all clicked, and it was, I think, just a really positive performance for him. And I think he just looked very comfortable, in that setting. And Mike, seeing him at the same tournament last year, I think it was night and day, just the progression that he showed. And that's something we look for, as we evaluate these prospects, particularly as they matriculate through high school, get older, get more experience, really into their senior years. We're looking for improvement, because that kind of shows just the ability to grow as a player, and kind of hit your, approach your ceiling. And Deuce obviously has a very high ceiling. So I think just the improvement he showed, and just the general play. I mean, he threw a ton of touchdowns, had some really impressive throws. I thought the arm strength was good. His decision-making was solid. You had a couple lapses like late in the tournament, but I think overall full balance. He was the best quarterback there, was getting to his third read consistently. And I thought just made pretty good decisions. So, given his full scope of just his athletic ability, and this being primarily a pass only type of setting, I think that if he showed that he can continue to improve, just kind of elevate his passing floor, when you put him in a football, like in a live 11-on-11 game where he's going to be able to run, and just adds that kind of dual threat element that we know he has. I think just he has a really, really high ceiling as he continues to progress.
We have a couple other topics I want to get to, Charles, but before we do, I want to get your take on this real quick, because the feeling and talking to different sources around Notre Dame is that Knight this offseason has taken a big step in his game from just a athlete playing quarterback to a quarterback. He's been working with QB country, refining his game. So did you see that, like, going from junior film to seeing him in the 7-on-7 and even the Under Armour camp that we were both at in Carrollton? Like, have you seen like a progression which I think the Under Armour camp was before he started training with QB country. So even from that camp to now, where you're like, okay, like his footwork is better. Like he's working on a lot of different things.
Yeah. I think if you look at the camp that we were at, Mike, in Atlanta or in Carrollton, and then look at how he looked this weekend, it was two different ends of the spectrum in terms of performance. So I think it's a very encouraging sign. We're going to see him at the Elite 11 finals, among a very deep group of his peers. Like, he was really the headliner of quarterbacks at this OT7 event. So I think from a comparison standpoint, we would have a better picture on where he stacks up after the Elite 11 finals. But I think, just what he showed kind of in this live setting with just the processing, the decision making, he just looked very like probably the most comfortable I've ever seen him, to be honest. Yeah. So I think it's a really good first step, and the biggest thing I think moving forward is just, does he continue to build on it, and really most importantly, throughout his senior season, because he had a kind of a disjointed junior year, left Lipscomb kind of in the middle of the season, went back to George County. So I think with him having a full off season back with his original high school, making these strides kind of mechanically and just from an experience live reps perspective, I'm really excited to see how he plays as a senior, because there were times, in the 7-on-7 tournament where I'm like, if this was a real game, he would just run it in. So like kind of that last play on the goal line. So, and we did get to see him run a little bit, like the rules with this 7-on-7 are you can kind of run when you're blitzed. And I think he was blitzed twice and had like 2 30-yard runs. Like he
Yeah.
kind of, you got like a little glimpse there. But I think it's a positive. It's certainly a positive step. So, I think the biggest thing for us moving forward is just seeing how he continues to build on it.
So you guys currently rank him as the number 54 overall player, the number 6 quarterback in the country. I mean, I know a lot of Notre Dame fans would like for you to go ahead and slap a 5th star on him, Charles. And I would assume you're not going to do that yet. See him at Elite 11. That's going to be really interesting. I've been told that he's been training specifically for the Elite 11 too, like working under center. That's not something he does at the high school level. Something he's going to do at the Elite 11 is those drops, which is obviously different than shotgun drop. But just going back tonight in that ranking, any
Yeah.
thoughts? Like, obviously, if you're talking, and Charles, I know from talking to you, you've told me this several times. You like to see the potential, like getting better, the improvement. You don't want someone who was great as a sophomore and then they look the same as a senior. Knight
Right.
seems like he is your type of guy who could continue to rise up the rankings. Am I wrong?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is him putting it together as a senior. So, like, I think there are really positive signs just with his pure ability, upside. And I think if he really just takes off as a senior, and this is really similar. We were having this exact same conversation about DJ Lagway last year, and DJ Lagway, kind of had some ups and downs in terms of consistency of performance, but we always knew he had this kind of immense physical talent, a dual threat guy, big arm. And he just really kind of blew up as a senior. He was the Gatorade National Player of the Year, ended up number 2 overall for us. So that's really kind of like a best case scenario when you're looking at that type of quarterback who is just a really high upside guy who you're kind of just waiting for everything to click, and you're kind of just, and if you're a fan of the school they're committed to, you're kind of hoping it does, because I think if it clicks in high school, they're kind of leaping into college, just from a confidence standpoint, and they just got all that pivotal kind of in-game experience. So that's I think that's the ideal time for it to really click, because you're just like the pressure's on you in high school. You're the guy instead of doing it like against scout team. So that's kind of all to say. With Deuce, I think the biggest thing is going to be watching the senior year, kind of seeing how he stacks up at Elite 11 first, watching the senior year, and really this 2025 quarterback cycle, it's pretty deep. Like, I think that's one, like, I know, like, Notre Dame fans or fans of schools that have quarterback commits, you're kind of viewing that commit kind of in a vacuum. But for us, we had to stack the board, right? So we're really starting. All our rankings start with the position. So it's really going to be stacking that quarterback board. So, and he has there's a lot of competition in this group, and it's not just like, it's really top to bottom. There's a deep group of like really kind of top 100 type of quarterbacks that, like, Deuce is one of them, that have a bunch of upside. So I think it's going to be really us kind of sorting out that group. And I think ultimately how they play as seniors is going to be a big part of that. And I don't think we're going to be super quick to, make sweeping like judgments. We're going to kind of just kind of see how it plays out. Because I think when you're dealing with quarterbacks, there's just so much attention on it. And really things can kind of change kind of during a season. So for me, I like to have as much of it as possible before we really can make a great call. But obviously we're going to be watching, like, I'm going to be watching these guys every week during the fall. So we're going to keep a really close tabs on it. And if it's an overwhelming thing in one way or another with a guy, I think, we'll obviously, we don't hesitate in making moves when we think they're warranted. But it's a class full of, it's a cycle full of a lot of high upside physical talent quarterbacks, and he's certainly one of them. So I'm really excited to just see how that group kind of plays as seniors and how it all sorts out.
One prospect you guys did not hesitate to make a big move on in terms of rankings was Will Black. I mean, he was ranked as a 3-star and a 4-star outside of all the national rankings, and you guys can see what they're at now a couple months later, but you guys really took a plunge. The number 5 overall prospect and the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, that's Will Black, from Canada, playing his ball in Connecticut now. We both got to see him for the first time at the On3 Elite Series in late May. 6'7.5", 283 pounds. That's what he checked in at the event. And I'm going to give you the floor to talk about this 5-star offensive tackle for the Fighting Irish.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I always have to be like, hey, can I talk about Will Black? Because he's a prospect I'm very excited about, and I think the excitement, is probably even more elevated after seeing him in person and getting official measurements on him. He also, Mike, I mean, he had a 34 and a quarter arm. I think the exact same arm length as Joe Alt, close to the same height. So like we made that comparison in the past. He's heavier than Joe was at the same stage, but
Yeah.
I think you see some similarities there. And with Will Black, I think it comes down to just, I mean, he's a big time athlete for that size. Like he is very functional. And since we made him a 5-star, he had that combine at his high school where he ran an electronic 4.9 40. His shuttle, I think, was in the 4.5s, and you just watch him move around through drills. And I mean, he is extremely, extremely fluid. So for a guy who is relatively new to football, has that prototypical frame with the elite movement skills, I think we're entering the fall feeling very good about our ranking of him as the number 1 offensive tackle. And we had 4 5-star offensive tackles at the On3 Elite Series. So and it's the best offensive line class that I've personally evaluated, just in terms of the quality at the top and the depth. So I mean, that it's a lofty statement, but I think he's a guy who, I haven't seen anything to this point that makes me second guess our ranking of him. And obviously we're going to watch, it's just kind of like the conversation with the quarterbacks, right? We're going to watch the senior year, see how things, materialize and keep a close eye on those guys. But, to this point, I feel really good about our ranking of Will Black.
So there you go. That's Charles Power of On3 breaking down Notre Dame commits Deuce Knight and Will Black. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to our channel for more content. And as always, we will catch you guys next time.